On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. Got more Q posts, and I want to say the theme for sure that's kind of going on right now is yes, one, we do know what the plan is. A lot of people complain, hey, if you know what's going on, why don't you stop it? That's part of the problem. You have to help us stop it. This is all of us. Where we go one, we go all means all of us. So, really, the big important part is to make sure people understand what is happening right now. Try to give as much factual evidence as possible, because, of course, that helps to go against all the people on the left that are saying that the fires are happening solely because of global warming. And there's no question about that. And anybody that questions that whatsoever is obviously, an idiot. Right? Gavin Newsom basically saying that, when in fact we've got a number of suggestions showing the opposite, that there are in fact a number of people that have currently been arrested, and there's a lot of discussion on the media or on the webs, as they say, talking about this stuff. So again, this is more pictures. This Anon did some amazing work. This is post 4715. It's where we've left off. We're going to kind of get right into it because I've got a couple really good videos that are in this that we're going to listen to that are very telling about some other news that's coming out right now. Again, this is a jam-packed session without a doubt. So big time right now, this whole movement right now, people intentionally starting fires, all of this organization that's going behind it. It's not just someone that put together a bunch of pictures and managed to be able to circle people with certain colors and link them back to other. It's way, way bigger than that. So again, we've got the point out here that this guy, Ant with the cuts, and I'm not going to pull him up because one, it's a private page anyway. Two, it's stupid. Three, he's already getting all the credit, but I believe it's one of these two guys is and the cuts. And then I couldn't get this link to work. I couldn't figure out how to get it to work. I tried. I don't know what the heck it was supposed to be, but more is coming here. So 4716, again, painting the picture. This individual Banks is the guy that's from that and the cuts or whatever the hell. This Banks guy is a part of all that. So a little conversation that he has with some random individual, and he starts, and they are open. And this individual says, "Why are y'all trying to burn down the courthouse? I bet you were out looting too. Because F the feds." Okay. Good rating it up with your gang. No, but I wish I was. And that's why they are effing y'all up. Good job. I love Louis and Rolex. Weird how they aren't, though. Feds already got run out of town once. Poor guys. You're going to love being dead, too, when they keep effing with them and they show you rioting isn't a joke. This is just being shared by Q. So obviously someone shared this. He got this from the boards, whatever the case is. It's conversations that are happening. And who knows, maybe this is actually Q that was screwing with him, although good points for just being able to play different languages back. That being said, 4717, continuing on, here it is, direct support PDX. Call for direct action after the news today. Stay safe, stay dangerous. This is what sites are posting right now. Everyone says on Twitter that we don't want to promote violence. We don't want to do anything like that. Call for direct action after the news today. Stay safe, stay dangerous. Obviously, Twitter does not care about this kind of baloney. But if anyone on the right talks about, hey, let's get together and, talk and get there and stand our ground or whatever, they're going to call it inciting a riot, gaslighting, whatever they want to call it. It's amazing how everything seems to work in their favor. But yeah, apparently they're all meeting up at Elizabeth Carruthers Park. This was yesterday on the 15th. Today's the 16th. So meet at 8 p.m., move at 9 p.m. And then they've got in here, one, abolish ICE. And then two, very important, be water, spread fire. This is the message they are moving. Now, of course, they're doing it similar with memes because one, the technology is not very good at it. My guess is the technology was fine to catch that. They just don't care. Meh. But the Q's pointing out very importantly, spread fire. Now, what that should say is spread global warming. Let's be honest. That's what they're talking about. So when they say spread fire, what they mean is spread global warming. So just keep that in mind. Just to say. Now, continuing on the theme of spreading global warming, 4718. We've got this individual who I think they're suggesting is that, what's that dude's name? Duke Banks. Yeah, right? So I think they're maybe thinking he's Banks, or if not, he's and with the cuts, either or. And again, since Q's posting all this, I'm 100% sure they know exactly who this dude is. They probably know his shoe size, all right? Like, they've probably got him all figured out. But one of the things we've found they're doing is they're running around up these banks with these 4-wheel drive trucks and whatnot. And when the authorities stop them and say, "Hey, this road's closed, there's fires, man, what are you, crazy?" And they're like, "Nah, we're delivering water to the troops, the firefighters." And they're like, "Oh, okay, cool, go on through." So yeah, they happen to have some water and gas cans. Now, again, gas cans can be used to start backfires, but you don't drive into fire areas to necessarily start backfires like that. So again, I'm not saying I'm a fire expert by any means, but where's the shovels? Oh, they do have shovels. All right, well, hey, at least they've got some stuff in there to look legit. But fact of the matter is, this is how they're using it to get in and around. Well, looks like this dude has his truck bed loaded up to set fires. Look at that. So yeah, again, it looks like this Banks dude has his truck filled to set fires too. People know who these people are. Here's the other thing. This Q movement's huge. So you telling me there's probably not people out in Oregon that might recognize this truck, and if seeing it, might turn around and start following this guy? Start maybe telling certain state troopers, "Hey, I think I found one of the guys that's starting these fires. He's got a whole bunch of stuff in the bed of his truck. Here's where I'm at." So again, these things have a habit of playing out very interestingly when they need to. So again, kind of going back to this whole Twitter thing, and again, it's people are starting to pay attention. They also think these QAnon people, they're blaming QAnon for spreading false rumors, blaming QAnon for calling in false reports to the FBI that people are starting fires. Yet I've already shared over 40 arrests, and there's a whole bunch that have just happened over the last little bit of people that were spreading global warming. So again, not cool, and obviously we're being lied to. Now, here's the thing, and here's what's challenging about this. We know exactly how this game's played, right? This is what they do. They're gonna create all this panic and problems. They're gonna create riots and chaos and pandemonium. And then the plan, of course, is to create all this challenge in the election. And we're going to hear from an expert here in just a little bit, but they're going to create all this challenge around the election. So then by doing that, they believe they're going to be able to do a coup. This is the standard playbook. And we're going to find out more about that here coming up. But this is standard playbook. Now, for a lot of people, that's like, "Oh man, that's scary. They're totally doing this to us." And it's like, but what's different this time is, one, right, God is on another side, because we're not trying to be terrible and evil, right? We're trying to just hold our ground and support freedoms and what this country stands for, rather than letting communists take it over, which is exactly what seems to be happening right now. So again, there's an attempt to take over this country. So we've got a lot of crazy things that we've got to keep in mind. But we're being given a lot of information. We're being given enough information to hopefully prepare ourselves, Second Amendment style if necessary, or however that might need to be, community watch groups and whatnot. But we're being given enough information to make a difference. And that is what needs to happen. And then on top of that, enough attention coming to the bad people that are out there. And this game is counterinsurged, if you will. And that really is the definition of what a counterinsurgency is. And we're going to get more into that. But again, they're continuing on 4719B, water spread fire. They're using the cover of sharing water, bringing water to first responders as cover to move around to, quote, spread fire. So they really are sick buggos, man. These aren't good people in any way, shape, or form. These are essentially people with, well, where their heart once was is now just a dark hole, right? Like, so again, Satan, whatever, evil, darkness, lack of love, lack of light, whatever you want to call it, they are not operating from the right place. Now, this one's interesting. It's interesting in a few ways. Let's go ahead and listen to it. It's 15 whopping seconds, and it kind of makes you ask some other questions, and then we'll talk a little bit about this real quick.
Meanwhile, in space, Moscow and Beijing have turned a once peaceful arena into a warfighting domain. They have weaponized space through killer satellites, directed energy weapons, and more, in an effort to exploit our systems and chip away at our military advantage.
So this is kind of, I think, known for a while. There's people that were even down in here, and I was agreeing. I went trying to find this. I couldn't find this. There was a guy in here. Where did he say this? Someone in here was trying to figure out where this post happened, when this video was recorded. Yeah, when was this video produced? Why is it only edited for 15 seconds? Why is there a slight glitch at 5 seconds? It's a weird video, but it seems like it was put out. And Bodie Crane's the only place I can find any reference to this at all. That being said, energy weapons have happened for a while. It's a big reason why we started the Space Force. That is exactly why that was created. It's why we have that little rocket ship too that's self-guided, if you will, and it goes up into space for 18 months at a time. This thing's got crazy payloads. It's testing crazy different engines and all sorts of stuff. It's fascinating, and it's using some of that X-type technology. So this is not new, but they are bringing it to our attention. And there's a lot of suspicion around these fires having a bit of a strange starting. And there's been, for a last actual number of years, 2-3 years, I can say, there's been a lot of pictures of people sharing where it looks like things just got melted, like cars just right down a street in a neighborhood. Cars literally melted, which is kind of weird. Fires don't typically burn quite like that, but then stuff right around it won't be that bad. There's even been places where they've had pieces of paper like that were shown that weren't burnt, but stuff around. Again, it's just some weird, really weird stuff that we're seeing that very well does look like it's space-based. And everyone will call you a conspiracy theorist when you say it, but I think that's kind of what this is also meant to show is, no, government's well aware of this kind of stuff. And understand, we have some of this crazy stuff too. I don't know if you've been paying attention to China. They're getting some of the worst storms in their history. They have had snow in the middle of summer, which is weird. Their Yangtze River, their giant Three Gorges Dam is close to bursting. They have had locusts. They had a pig famine thing where they had to kill most of the pork. They have had all their corn die in the silos. Trust me, they have had some problems too. And I think we might be behind some of that. It wouldn't surprise me. 4721 shares with us a YouTube video that's super awesome. I wish I could share it with you. It's YouTube. Oh, wait, I found it someplace else. Suckers. So here we can watch it. And this is a really good 6 minutes. And I want you guys to listen to this one. This Dr. Li Meng Yan is a scientist in China. And she is talking about where the COVID virus came from. And she does make a really neat little correlation between bats. Do you guys remember how bats played a part in how this whole COVID virus thing happened? And people figured the bats were dripping on top of the chickens, which were dripping on top of the vegetables. And then you stir fry them all together and you somehow end up with COVID. And oh no, and everything started right there. Well, not quite like that, but very interesting. So she is someone that does this kind of stuff for a living and knows exactly what she's talking about. So let's check her out here.
We're happy to have her on tonight. Doctor, thanks so much for coming on.
Hi, Tucker. Hi, Tucker. Thank you.
Thank you. I know that you've published some of your research. You're planning on publishing more soon. Give us, for a non-scientific audience, a summary of why you believe this virus came from a lab in Wuhan, please.
Okay, briefly, from my first report, I can present the solid scientific evidence to our audience that this virus, COVID-19 SARS-CoV-2 virus, actually is not from nature. It is a man-made virus created in the lab based on the China military discovered and owned the very unique bat coronavirus, which cannot affect people, but after the modification becomes a very harmful virus at now. So I have evidence to show why they can do it, what they have done, how did they do it.
So what you're saying is much more sinister even than we've suggested on this show, than Tom Cotton, than almost anyone suggested. You're saying that the Chinese government manufactured this virus, if I'm hearing you correctly. That's what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. Based on the virus genome, it's basically like our fingerprint. So you can see the very unusual characters in their genome, which clearly, based on the other evidence they left during the modification, we can say finally this is exactly the one come from their own special bat coronavirus and then target human.
What you're alleging is shocking more even than I anticipated when we invited you on. So I just want to ask the most obvious question, which is this genome presumably is in the possession of many researchers around the world. Why is nobody saying this if it's true?
Yeah, why there is nobody want to say it? It's because of the big suppression come from the Chinese Communist Party government and also their friend in scientific world. So basically, this is very clearly that this virus is like Frankenstein. So he created those things like basically a cow has deer's head, has rabbit's ear, and also have monkey's hand. so they can never get it from the nature. And there were evidence left in the genome. But the scientific world also keeps silence, work together with Chinese Communist Party. They don't want people to know this truth. Also, that's why I get suspended, I get suppression, I am the target that Chinese Communist Party won't be disappeared.
You're a brave person. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt and assuming you're not an anti-Chinese racist. So it's not clear why Twitter would shut you down or why you're being ignored by the rest of the U.S. media. Let me ask you a couple of questions. Why would the Chinese government intentionally create a virus like this?
Okay, if you want to know the exact motive, the exact idea, I think people have to come to ask Communist Party, why did they do it? Because they are the one do it. We cannot always understand their evil thinking. You have to come to ask them. But what we see already proves that they have done that. It harmed everyone in the world, lead to the historic pandemic, involve everyone.
How do you believe this virus made its way from the lab in Wuhan outside to the rest of the world?
Okay, first, as I said, I have this kind of solid scientific evidence, and also my next report will come out soon to make you fully understand it is. The other thing is, I work in the WHO reference lab, which is the top coronavirus lab in the world in the University of Hong Kong. And since I get deeply into such investigation in secret from the early beginning of this outbreak, I had my intelligence because I also get my own unique network in China, involve the hospital, institute, and also government. Also, I work with the top coronavirologists in the world. So together with my experience, I can tell you, this is created in the lab. This is from that template owned by China military. And also it is spread to the world to make such damage.
To make such damage, do you believe the Chinese government released this intentionally, on purpose? Did they do this?
Yes, of course, it's intentionally. And even no need more evidence, you already can see what they try to cover up from the early beginning, as I reviewed in different medias before. And also what else they have done, like making the fabricated virus to throw out the natural origin theory, censorship, everything that every evidence point to the lab origins, and also clearly try to make people like me want to talk about the truth get disappeared.
You know, it's hard to be shocked in a moment like this, but you have succeeded in shocking me. Unfortunately, this is not the forum for the details of your research. I don't have the grounding necessary to ask you the right questions. This is when you wish for a functioning media, because what you just said completely changes everything we think we know about the pandemic that's wrecking our country. So I really hope, sincerely, that you will be doing many interviews in American media and explaining this in much greater detail. And I hope you'll come back here. Doctor, thank you so much.
Thank you. Everyone needs to know the truth.
Yeah.
So as you can see, an insane amount of information is starting to come out. A lot of people have realized this. They said this early on, that it looked like it was Chinese oriented, that there was a vector in there that didn't look right. So now we know it's actually made up of some bat COVID virus, or like the bat flu, which interesting. I'm sure Batman fears that one, but not anybody else. But what they did is they took that, they modified it and made it actually work against people and mixed it probably with human, and then did the ability to create this virus that became very, very deadly to people. And oddly, though, it is less deadly to Asian people. If you look at some of the statistics, certainly with children, but people that are the children that were Asian and native born, I think, had some of the lowest rates of contraction. I think it was just interesting how some of that played out. Post 4722, add it all up. We got number one, we got the virus. Number two, we've got riots organized by Antifa. So we've got this militant group that's been trained all over the country, that's got money coming in from a number of foreign places. Got a lot of interesting information that's starting to come out. I'm pretty sure the FBI knows a great deal more. And then we've got fires now. The big question is why. Now, we're going to get a little taste of that here coming up in this particular video. This is talking about this color revolutions. We're going to get there in a second. And as you can probably tell, you'll see it is YouTube, but I found a way around that one also, kind of on accident, but it's good. But I also want to say, make no mistake, they will not concede on election night. We kind of know that. Once election night happens, they're trying to create enough confusion for them to be able to say, no, Trump didn't win, la, 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 there's no way. And make no mistake, they will contest this legally in battleground states. So they've already got the lawyers ready. They've already got all the documentation drawn up. Literally the day of or after the election, I'm sure lawsuits will immediately be filed. Make no mistake, they will project doubt into the election results, no matter what. You could have had 99% turnout in person in a state. They're still going to try to turn it around and say, no, there was a bunch of mail-in votes that you haven't counted yet. I'm sure of it. We can't trust the post office. Make no mistake, they will organize massive riots and attempt Anarchy 99 design. The playbook is known, and we are going to talk about that next. The playbook is known. They know completely what is going to happen. This 50-day sit-in out in Washington, D.C. is part of this. So once the elections happen, once they push into play the confusion, the extra sense of riots, the next level of anarchy, once they kick it up to that notch, that's what all those people are out there to maybe storm the White House or whatever they think they're going to do. They know this is going to happen. Now, what the counter plan is, frankly, I'm not military intelligence, and you really don't want me trying to figure it out. But I think we're seeing aspects of this playing out. And I kind of wanted to point out, well, one, we've got fresh posts. We'll get to that in a second. Let's go ahead and check out this video. It's 4 minutes and 30 seconds, and I think it's worth it. It's this gentleman talking about how this color revolution has been organized in other countries, how it works, and kind of talking about how it's playing out in this country right now. Let's check it out.
Someone who's been watching all of this is Darren Beattie. He's a former speechwriter for President Trump. He works now with Revolver News, the website. He says this is part of a familiar plan. In a recent piece, Revolver argued that Democratic operatives, including some who testified during the impeachment proceedings, are adopting the same tactics that U.S. intel agencies use to start so-called color revolutions in places like Ukraine. Darren Beattie joins us tonight to explain. Darren, thanks so much for coming on. So, for our viewers who are not familiar with the color revolutions in Eastern Europe, state as clearly as you can what you think is going on right now in this election. What's the end game for Democrats?
Yes, thank you for having me. Many have described the actions taken against Trump as a coup. And this is certainly correct, but it's a little bit general and vague. What's unfolding before our eyes is a very specific type of coup called the color revolution. It's a regime change model favored by many in our national security apparatus, particularly against Eastern European countries, to overthrow, target regimes that they don't like. One model, which is not the color revolution model, is purely sending a bunch of troops into a country and removing by military force a leader you don't like. That's like the Iraq model.
Right.
The color revolution model is a little bit more delicate and subtle. It has several characteristics, but the chief characteristics of it is a combination of an engineered contested elections scenario combined with massive mobilized protests, which they call, as a term of art, peaceful protests and acts of civil disobedience. If that sounds familiar, it gets even better. It's not only the same strategies and tactics used against Trump that's used against Eastern European dictators that our national security apparatus doesn't like. It's literally the same people who are color revolution professionals who have a long history of using these same tactics against foreign leaders they don't like to use against democratically elected President Donald Trump. It's the same people using the very same playbook. Now, I'd like to talk about one of the key figures in this operation, a nexus point not only between color revolutions overseas and the color revolution against Trump, but a nexus point between lawfare and mass mobilization and so-called peaceful protests. This is a man by the name of Norm Eisen. Norm Eisen is a key legal hatchet man, Democrat operative, former Obama ethics czar, believe it or not. And he is also a key architect of nearly every effort to censor, sue, impeach, and overthrow the president. He is the author of, in fact, a color revolution playbook, literally called the playbook. And one of the items he calls for in his playbook to overthrow regimes overseas he doesn't like is engineering election fraud scenarios, using election fraud to engineer mass protests to question the legitimacy of the target leader. Norm Eisen has a long and checkered history going all the way back to his days at Crew, which is a lawfare arm. He's been behind over 180 lawsuits against Trump. He authored 10 articles of impeachment before the president's phone call was even made. He was special counsel to the Democrats for the impeachment process. He was literally involved in every aspect of this color revolution against Trump. His latest act, and perhaps his greatest act coming up, is to use lawfare in order to overturn the 2020 election, using various legal theories, principally his theory about...
Norm Eisen. Remember the name. I'm sorry, Darren, we're out of time. I appreciate that. We'll be right back.
So as you can see, a lot has been played out. He had 10 articles written against him before they even had the phone call to try to impeach him on, which even after he released the transcripts was shaky at best. I mean, only one, Mitt Romney, only one Republican crossed the line on one of the votes, not both, just one. So again, this color thing, this color revolution is exactly what's happening. We've done it to other countries. I'm sure foreign influences are part of this as well. And it's really basically the deep state in a nutshell. We can call it China and put that face on it, but that's really how they tend to nationalize our enemies always. Really, we've got this hidden enemy that's always pulling the strings and causing people to fight each other. And it's certainly not benefiting us. Certainly we, the people, do not have the power we deserve. And we've got a number of these situations where we've got people in power that are truly, one, taking away our rights. There's been Pennsylvania was questioned by that's gone up to the Supreme Court, I think, or it's going up to. So we've got a lot of questions around this strange heavy-handedness that's currently happening. Now, we did just get a fresh post. Oh, we got 2 fresh posts. Oh, no. Let's see what these are. Let's check it out. So we got 4723 also just came out. Josh Kaplan here. AG Barr tells prosecutors to consider charging violent protesters with sedition. That changes things a great deal when we can do that. So AG Barr is telling prosecutors to consider that. Let's see. The media is complicit. Fact checkers created to reinforce the same narrative, propaganda, right? They basically will say, if you're trying to tell the truth, they will call your story a problem. Just like underneath my video, there's a little COVID disclaimer because I probably mentioned it. So they've got to tell you that, here's where you should go to get any information about COVID. That's kind of how you keep that same thing going. And this is the story that they themselves have created. So social media censor, terminate, silence this anti-narrative account. So any account in social media that's talking about stuff like I'm talking about, or anybody else, any of those types of accounts are silenced, censored, shadow banned, any number of things under those suns. Again, all they want is the same message to be said over and over and over and over and over, because really all you got to do is tell people the same thing over and over, and they'll eventually believe it. It's how you control people. It's a system of control. It's all you got to do. So the mission is to keep the public controlled and in the dark. And information warfare is what's going on. We're the ones that are trying to inform everybody this other narrative, what's really going on. And there is a great deal of effort getting into that. So, yeah, a lot of people are very excited to see this information posted by Josh Kaplan. So thank you for that, sir. 4724, why did it take an outsider to finally deliver the start of peace in the Middle East? Because they didn't want it. Nobody wanted peace in the Middle East. The peace in the Middle East they want war. They want all sorts of chaos. They don't like peace. Peace is how they take over regimes. Peace is how they keep people in fear. Peace is something that they use to, cause more problems. I think war is what I meant to say, but whatever. News coverage, front pages, the whole 9 yards, just doing it right. So missile strikes attempt to terminate, huh? Peace doesn't sell. War fear does. Bunch of dollar signs are going on. Evil and corruption, the highest levels. Missile strikes attempt to terminate. Is this a talk about what's maybe being planned against the president? Because Iran did make a threat recently that they said they'd get even, that they'd possibly try to assassinate somebody. And Trump followed up with, anything you do to us, we will hit you back 1,000 times harder. Like, pretty insane how he played that out. So we're going to see how this evil and corruption is playing out. Again, it's like they know the playbook. We're trying to get everybody on board, trying to get everybody to understand, trying to give as many facts as we possibly can. But we also need you to help us. We need you to support this. We need you to understand this is what's happening around you. We need you to start finding the friends that you can trust around you. We need the support group. We need to know who the silent majority are. It's getting really close to the time to know. I want to point out a couple other things here that I think kind of play into how this silly game is played. But, even this professor, there's a Rhode Island professor, he said it is, on his comment in his blog, this Loomis guy, I see nothing wrong with it, at least from a moral perspective. He's talking about that guy that went up and shot that prayer guy in Portland on the street, there's one, bam, bam, just shoots him twice. This guy says, I see nothing wrong with it, at least from a moral perspective. So walking up and shooting somebody because they're Trump supporters, morally, that's okay. This is the people that are choosing the moral high ground for us, folks. These are the people that are proud to have abortions and proud to celebrate them and proud to take those parts and send them wherever they want. These same people are proud to kill one another. These same people are proud to destroy public and private property. These people are proud to terrorize individuals in the streets. These people are proud whenever they cause people to fear for their lives. Yeah, they are on the moral up and up. I am quite sure of it. This is probably the final story I want to go with, but I think it's super important to point out, again, how this is. First off, the smirk on this guy's face. They hated that little Covington kid, man, and the smirk he had. This guy is awesome. He's standing in the middle of a fire zone smiling about how great the life is. But here we are, again, talking about how this is 100% global warming. And anybody that questions that, well, they're the crazy people. Even though we've got about 800 stories of people starting fires. Shh, Gavin, don't tell anyone that.
This perfect storm. The debate is over around climate change. Just come to the state of California. Observe it with your own eyes. It's not an intellectual debate. It's not even debatable. We're in the midst of a climate emergency. We're in the midst of a climate crisis. We are experiencing weather conditions, the likes of which we've never experienced in our lifetime. We're experiencing what so many people predicted decades and decades ago, but all of that now is reality.
You're in the midst of a very dirty, smoky place. That's what you're in the midst of, big guy. But hey, the jacket looks good. You know what I mean? So yeah, this is all they do. This is the people that are leading us. This is the people that are telling us what we need to believe and how we need to be safe. There's definitely something going on with the White House. And I don't know how this election's going to play out. I'm hoping it's overwhelming. I'm hoping a lot of us either A, go in person, or B, I think this online thing, because we're running out of time. We'll see how that plays out. There's got to be a way around this vote by mail. But maybe that's the thing that they want to hang everyone up on. I don't know. We're going to see how this all plays out. But we need to understand what's coming. We need to understand their game plan. It is obvious what they are doing. So it's time to know what our counterinsurgency should be. And one thing that pointed out in this particular post, counterinsurgency may be defined as comprehensive civilian and military efforts taken to simultaneously defeat and contain insurgency and address its root causes. So we saw the root causes, Antifa and all the money that's being spent. We understand how that's being played out. I'm pretty sure we've got the right powers kind of going after those people. It's being brought to our attention. Now we're actually seeing what these people are driving, and it's becoming popular on the roads, right? People are starting to see this. One of those posts, someone even went so far as to post the dude's license plate number, right? So again, there's information that's happening out there. A lot is happening. We need to be informed. We need to be prepared. And whatever that means to you, we need to be prepared. We need to be ready. And we need to support any of our comrades as they start to wake up. And I don't want to use the word comrades. Any of our fellow freedom fighters, any of our fellow Americans, any of our fellow family members. If they start to question, when they start to wake up, we need to extend that olive branch. We need to be open to the fact that some people are going to come out of this haze and be like, oh my God, I can't believe what's actually happening. I don't support this. The whole walk away movement is surprisingly large. In Pennsylvania, they had something like minus 91,000 Democrats, meaning people changed their voter registration. Something like 70,000 of them became Republican and somehow like 40,000 became independent. I don't know. Somehow we lost 90,000 on the Dems, and then overall there was a gain of about 100 and some odd. So we picked up some other people that were like, I don't like what's going on, but now all of a sudden I'm going to register to vote independent and I'm going to at least go to the polls. So again, people are waking up in droves. We don't see it because the people that control the voice, the people that are on the air, the people that make the news, the people that keep throwing the stupid echo around, they're controlling a lot of the narrative, at least to the people that are asleep. But we've got a narrative unto ourselves going in a whole lot of different other directions, and we're going to continue to share that. Remember, where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle.